Look, most luxury travel advisors approach January with hope. You want this year to be different. Better clients, higher revenue, less chaos running through your week. But hope without structure, that's just wishful thinking. I'm going to give you 4 building blocks to make this year genuinely transformative, not motivational, operational. Because here's the truth: the difference between advisors who build real authority and advisors who stay stuck is not knowledge, it's execution. Now, I need to be honest with you. Most people will watch this video, feel inspired for about 6 hours, and do absolutely nothing. That's fine, I'm not here to force anyone. But if you're one of the few who actually implements what I'm about to show you, you'll look back next January and realize this was the inflection point. This was when things changed. So let's get into it. Before you can build anything that lasts, you need clarity. Clarity on what to keep and clarity on what needs to change. So we are going to start with 3 exercises. These aren't complicated, but they require honesty, and most people would rather avoid that. The first one is the Regret Audit. Here's what you do. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Grab a notebook and write down your biggest business regret from last year. Not a vague feeling, a specific regret. Maybe it's I said yes to that no planning fee for a 3-week European itinerary and spent 40 hours on it. Or I let that 80,000 client ghost me after 3 rounds of revisions because I never asked for a commitment. Or maybe I'm still working with clients who text me at 11 p.m. about restaurant reservations. Whatever it is, write it down. Then write the lesson. And then write one action you can take in January to make sure you don't repeat it. Now, here's why this works. Most people focus on their successes when they plan. What went well? Let's do more of that. But regrets teach you faster than wins ever will. Because regrets show you exactly where your system failed, where your boundaries broke, where your pricing was wrong. You don't need to wallow in regret. You need to extract the lesson and build a guardrail. If your regret is underpricing, your January action is raising your planning fees. If it's bad client selection, your action is creating a qualification process. Simple as that. Now, here's the second exercise. It's called a pre-mortem. Let me explain what that word means. You probably know that a post-mortem is. That's when doctors examine a body after death to figure out what killed it. A pre-mortem is the same idea, but before that death happens. You imagine failure, then work backward to prevent it. So here's what you do. I want you to imagine it's December 31st of this year, and your year didn't transform. You're still overworked, still underpaid, still invisible in your market. Ask yourself, what specifically prevented the breakthrough? And here's what I find with most advisors. The patterns are predictable. You never raised your prices. You stayed too generalized. Luxury travel anywhere, which means authority nowhere. You kept trading hours for dollars instead of building systems. You said yes to every inquiry because you were afraid of losing revenue. Now here's why pre-mortems work better than regular goal settings. When you set goals, your brain focuses on success. I'm going to grow my revenue by 50%. That feels good, but it doesn't prepare you for obstacles. A pre-mortem forces you to think about what goes wrong. And when you can see failure coming, you can design around it. So identify your 3 most likely obstacles right now. Write them down, and then design your year to navigate around them. That's the pre-mortem. You're solving for failure before it happens. Last piece of the foundation. Pick one word for the year. One word that acts as a compass for every decision. Here are some examples. Authority, if you want to stop being interchangeable with every other advisor in your market. Boundaries, if you need to protect your time and energy from constant client demands. Premium, if you're ready to move up market and work with clients who value expertise. Simplify, if you need to narrow your focus and stop being everything to everyone. Visible, if you need to market consistently instead of sporadically. Pick one word, and then every opportunity, every client, every project that comes your way, run it through that word. If it doesn't align, it's a no. Now here's why a single word works. When you have 10 priorities, you have 0 priorities. Your brain can't hold that much decision making. That's a filter. It's simple enough that you'll actually use it in the moment when someone asks you to do something that doesn't serve your goals. That's your foundation. Clarity on what failed, anticipation of what could fail, and a compass to guide you forward. Structure doesn't limit freedom. Structure creates it. The advisors who feel most in control of their business, they have the strongest systems. The advisors who feel overwhelmed, they're just reacting all day to whatever shows up. So let me give you 5 specific systems, and I'm going to explain why each one works. Protect your first hour. Don't check email when you wake up. Don't check client texts. Don't check Facebook groups asking, has anyone been to Bali? Your first hour should never be supplier emails or itinerary tweaks. Your first hour is for working on your business. Pricing strategy, content creation, systems documentation. Here's why this matters. Your brain has what scientists call cognitive resources. Think of it like a battery. When you wake up, your battery is full. You have your best thinking power, your best decision-making ability, your best creative capacity. But every decision you make drains that battery a little bit. Every email you read, every problem you solve, by noon, your battery is at 60%. By 3 p.m., maybe 40%. So when you spend your first hour on email, you're using your best thinking to solve other people's problems. Supplier questions, client requests, random inquiries. Most advisors spend their entire day reacting. The first hour, that's the only hour you truly control. Protect it. The 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Quick supplier confirmation, do it now. Calendar update, do it now. Brief client check-in, do it now. Here's why. Small tasks create what psychologists call open loops in your brain. An open loop is just an unfinished task that your brain keeps reminding you about. Don't forget to email that supplier. You need to update your calendar. Remember to follow up with that client. Each open loop uses a tiny bit of your mental energy. But when you have 20 open loops, that's a lot of background noise in your head. It's exhausting. The 2-minute rule closes those loops immediately. Clear them the moment they appear. Your brain can relax. Friday Shutdown Ritual. Every Friday, spend 5 minutes closing open loops and planning Monday. Close any pending proposals. Document where each client project stands. Identify your 3 priorities for Monday morning. Here's why this matters. Your brain can't rest over the weekend if you're carrying 47 open tabs in your head. Think about your computer. When you have 47 browser tabs open, your computer runs slower. It's using energy to keep all those tabs active, even if you're not looking at them. Your brain works the same way. If you don't close those tabs on Friday, your brain keeps them running all weekend. You're at dinner Saturday night and suddenly you're thinking about the pending proposal. You're trying to relax on Sunday afternoon and your brain reminds you about that client issue. The shutdown ritual closes the tabs. It tells your brain, we're done. We're documented everything. We can rest now. This is what separates advisors who work from weekends from advisors who don't. Not willpower, systems. Mise en place is a French cooking term. It means everything in its place. Chefs prepare all their ingredients before they start cooking. They chop the vegetables, they measure the spices, they arrange everything on their counter. Why? Because when they're cooking, they don't want to stop and search for something. They want to flow. Same principle for your business. Prepare your environment the night before. Lower the barrier to action before you need to act. If you're creating content Monday morning, draft your outline Sunday night. If you're raising prices this quarter, prepare the new pricing document tonight. If you're launching a new offering, write the announcement email before you need it. Here's why this works. Every action requires activation energy. That's the mental push you need to start something, like pushing a car. The hardest part is getting it moving. When it's rolling, it's easier. When you prepare in advance, you lower the activation energy. You don't have to push as hard to get started. You just start. Friction kills execution. Remove it in advance. Last one. Spend 15 minutes on Sunday night reviewing the week ahead. Look at your calendar. Identify your key priorities. Make sure you're moving from reaction to intention. Here's the difference this makes. Most people start Monday morning asking, "What do I need to do today?" They're reacting to whatever's in front of them: emails, requests, urgencies. But when you review on Sunday night, you start Monday morning knowing these are my 3 priorities this week. You're working from intention, not reaction. It's a simple habit, but it shifts everything. Motivation isn't a feeling that magically shows up. Motivation is an output of the right systems. Let me explain what I mean by that. Most people think motivation is something you have to find, like it's hiding somewhere and you need to go search for it. But that's not how motivation works. Motivation is what happens when your brain sees progress, when your brain believes you can succeed, when your brain feels momentum. So let me give you 3 ways to engineer motivation into your business. If every client says yes right away, you might not be positioning yourself at the premium level you want. Some resistance? That's evidence you're playing at the right tier. Now, here's why 85% is the magic number. Scientists discovered that when you're learning something new, you'll learn fastest when you get it right about 85% of the time. Not 95%, not 70%, 85%. Think about learning a language. If the lessons are so easy you never make mistakes, you're not actually learning anything new. Your brain is bored. But if the lessons are so hard you're wrong most of the time, you get frustrated and give up. 85% is the sweet spot. You're getting it right enough to feel capable, but you're still making enough mistakes to be learning something. Design friction. Make unproductive patterns harder and make productive patterns easier. Here's what I mean. Make it harder to say yes to underpriced clients. Require deposits before you even start quoting. Make it harder to get trapped in endless revision cycles. Limit proposal rounds in your client agreement. Make it harder for clients to text you on Sunday. Set up an autoresponder that says you'll reply Monday morning. Now flip it. Make it easier to have premium pricing conversations. Create a template email that explains your value. Make it easier to create content. Batch create outlines for the entire quarter. Make it easier to build authority. Reschedule your newsletter for the next 30 days. Here's why this is more powerful than willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. It's like the battery I mentioned earlier. Every time you resist temptation, every time you force yourself to do something hard, you drain your willpower battery. But environment design doesn't use willpower. It just makes the right action easier and the wrong action harder. If you put your phone in another room, you don't need willpower to avoid checking it. It's just in another room. If you pre-write an email template, you don't need willpower to send it. You just click send. Environment design beats willpower every time. Track small wins. Every day, spend 60 seconds writing down 3 small wins. Here's why this works. Dopamine is a chemical your brain releases when you make progress towards a goal. It's not exactly happiness, it's more like anticipation, excitement, momentum. It's what makes you want to keep going. Your brain releases dopamine when you see progress, not when you achieve the final goal, when you see movement. So here's the problem: most advisors only track big wins. I got a 50,000 booking. Great, but that happens once a month. Maybe. The rest of the time, your brain sees no progress, no dopamine, no momentum. But when you track small wins daily, you're showing your brain, look, we're moving forward. And your brain releases dopamine, which makes you want to keep going. Here's the thing about this: progress fuels motivation more than motivation fuels progress. You don't need big dramatic wins. You need evidence that you're moving forward. Document it. You can't build authority alone. The question is, are you surrounding yourself with the right people? Let me explain why other people matter so much to your business success. Humans are social creatures. We're wired to care what other people think. We're wired to seek approval. We're wired to avoid disappointing people we respect. You can either fight that wiring or use it. High performers use it. Build a challenge network. Find people willing to tell you the truth, not just what feels good to hear. You don't need more Facebook cheerleaders saying you're doing amazing when you're drowning. You need someone who will say your pricing is too low, your niche is too broad, your marketing is invisible. Once a month, ask one trusted peer for one specific critique, not general encouragement, specific feedback that helps you improve. Here's why this matters. We all have blind spots, things we can see about ourselves or our business. You know how it's easier to spot someone else's typo than your own? Same principle. Other people see what you miss, but most people won't tell you the truth unless you specifically ask for it, because criticism feels risky. They don't want to hurt your feelings. So you have to create permission. Ask for critique. Make it safe for people to be honest with you. That's a challenge network. Curate your trio. Here's what high performers do: they surround themselves with 3 types of people. A challenger, someone who pushes you beyond comfort. The person who tells you to raise your prices even when it feels scary. A cheerleader, someone who celebrates your wins. The person who reminds you how far you've come when you're frustrated. And a coach, someone who shows you the path. The person who's already built what you're trying to build. Most advisors have only cheerleaders. High performers have all 3. Now here's why you need all 3 types. Your brain has different psychological needs at different moments. Sometimes you need someone to push you. Sometimes you need someone to encourage you. Sometimes you need someone to teach you. If you only have challengers, you'll burn out. They push you too hard. If you only have cheerleaders, you'll plateau. They never push you to grow. If you only have coaches, you'll feel like a perpetual student, never confident in your own ability. But when you have all 3, you get balance. You get what you need when you need it. The to-don't list. Every quarter, make a list of what you're deliberately removing from your business. Clients who book under a certain amount, destinations outside your niche, free pick your brain calls, supplier trainings that don't serve your positioning. Here's why this matters, and this is one of the most important concepts in business. Authority doesn't come from addition. Authority comes from subtraction. Let me explain what I mean. When you say yes to everything, you become a generalist. I can help you with any destination. I work with any client. I do any type of travel. But generalists are invisible, because if you're for everyone, you're memorable to no one. Authority comes from being known for something specific, and the only way to become known for something specific is to stop doing everything else. That's subtraction. You're not adding more, you're removing things that don't fit. Clarity comes from knowing what you won't do. Last one. Write one handwritten thank you note every 2 weeks. That's 26 for the year. Send them to past clients, referral partners, mentors, suppliers who've supported you, peers who've helped you. Here's why relationships compound. Think about interest on money. If you put 1,000 in the bank, you earn interest. But next year, you earn interest on the original 1,000 plus the interest you already earned. That's compound interest. Your money grows faster over time. Relationships work the same way. Every time you strengthen a relationship, future interactions become easier. That person is more likely to refer you, to help you, to think of you when opportunity appears. But relationships decay without maintenance. If you never reach out to someone, the relationship weakens. Not dramatically, just slowly. Until one day, you realize you haven't talked to them in 3 years and it feels awkward to reconnect. Thank you notes are relationship maintenance. They keep the connections alive. And they cost you almost nothing. Just a stamp and 5 minutes. Relationships are the most underrated asset in this industry. This is how you maintain them. Alright, let's bring this home. This framework only works if you implement it, not someday, this week. So here's what I want you to do. Pick 3 tactics from this video. One from foundation, one from architecture, and one from engine or circle. Schedule 30 minutes this week to implement them. That's it, 30 minutes. Because here's what's going to happen with most people watching this. They'll feel inspired, they'll think, yeah, I should do that, and then they'll go back to their usual patterns. Supplier emails, client texts, Facebook threads, and this year will look exactly like last year. But the advisors who actually execute this system, they're the ones who transform from overworked generalists into recognized authorities in their niche. Not because they're smarter than you, not because they're more talented, because they have structure. Make this year your best year. It won't happen by accident.